12 News Water Watch is a campaign that we're committed to help you and your kids stay safe around water. So here to educate us more is Dr. Natasha Bhuyan, National Medical Director of One Medical. Natasha, first off, how long does it take for a child to drown?
Well, a drowning can happen in as fast as 20 to 30 seconds.
Wow.
And it can happen in just a few inches of water. So we talk a lot about pools, but children can also drown in bathtubs. And this is why it is so critical to watch kids around water. Now, with children, typically what we see is after about 2 minutes, they will lose consciousness entirely. And it only takes 4 minutes for severe brain injury to start taking place. And really, when we look at long-term outcomes, we see the worst survival rates if somebody has been submerged for longer than 10 minutes.
Yeah, and a lot of times when we report on these near drownings, you think, okay, well, thank goodness the child is alive, and then it's kind of like end of story, But what people don't realize is that, when a child or somebody almost drowns, it doesn't mean that they're okay. I mean, there are sometimes long-term effects.
Yes, exactly. So even just a few minutes of being submerged can cause these long-term devastating outcomes. And they really range. So one of the things that we see in drowning survivors is PTSD, a lot of mental health effects. The other thing we see is really variable neurological impairment. This can be something like seizures. It can also be the inability to walk or talk or dress yourself or eat. We also see kids have learning disabilities. The lungs are compromised, and so there might be lifelong lung issues, frequent infections like pneumonia, and then even people who survive and it's only been a few minutes and they do relatively well, they have trouble focusing, they've got memory issues, and so we really do see devastating effects long term.
The last time we did our Water Watch with Dave Muncie, and we launched it last month, he was talking about the difference between almost drowning in cold water versus warm water. I didn't know that there was a difference. Can you explain that?
Yeah, there is a little bit of a difference. So there's one thing called the diving response. So in very cold water, so icy water, there's this thing that mammals do that's protective. The heart rate slows down. We're trying to conserve oxygen. And this is when you hear those stories of people being submerged for a long time in icy water, but they still survive. Yes. But the unfortunate thing is there's something else called the cold shock response. That might be in moderately cold water, not icy water. That's what a lot of us have experienced. You get into cold water, you gasp. Some people start hyperventilating. We actually increase our need for oxygen. And so in moderately cold water, we don't see great outcomes. And then finally, in warm water, we have a high demand for oxygen. So in warm water, people can die pretty quickly. And this is what we see when people drown in bathtubs if they're taking medications, or for children, they might be in a bathtub unattended and they might drown.
Wow. All right, Natasha, thank you so